One.
Welcome to the acclaimed podcast, The Deep Dive, featuring your esteemed hosts, Andy Monitor and Drew Dinzik, powered by BetSperts.
Welcome to The Deep Dive. The Wednesday pod is in live stream format now.
It's in live stream format. Anybody who's ever joined the halftime scopes have, a lot of people have migrated over to YouTube. We're going to just only use YouTube for this because it has the highest quality and it's the best platform. But unfortunately, we are going to all but ignore your ass in the chat because this is it's already an hour and 40 minutes.
It doesn't mean you can't comment with each other.
No,
if you have plays, drop them in the chat.
And we'll check out the comments later.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Drop your BetSperts handle. Say, hey, look, man, follow my plays here. You remember last week I called this. You remember this week, my big play this week is this. If we get to a play and you specifically disagree with us, put your comments in there. We'll go back and read them. I'm curious what everybody's point of view is, but we want to try to keep this to about an hour and a half. We're going to try to keep this in its normal podcast form so that our loyal listeners who download and listen on the podcast app of their choice don't feel like they are missing out on anything specifically. And it doesn't distract us so we don't turn this into a 3-hour deep dive, which is really the important aspect.
Well, and if you have nothing to do on a Wednesday night and you want to get this early, we can just hang out. You can have this playing in the background on your computer or your tablet, phone, BlackBerry, what have you. So, we will be. I think we'll do this in the future. This is fun. And you get to see how the sausage is made. There's a lot of high-end kind of production stuff we're doing in the background on Wednesdays. People don't get to see. It's not just a couple of slobs doing one take with no editing on a Wednesday evening with each other here in these beautiful living rooms we're in.
Yeah, of course, man. So week 12 is a wrap at long last. They played Steelers Ravens, I guess. That was one of the sloppier, uglier games we've seen in a long time. Did not live up to my expectations at all for good football. Steelers with just the dropsies in a way that prevented them from covering that full game or halftime second half spread. It was a lackluster performance from the Steelers. Are you worried about your Steelers leaking a little oil? I mean, we're going to get to them at the end of this podcast when we talk about the Washington football team matchup on Monday night matinee next week. But they're leaking a little oil here, huh?
I guess I was never really super excited about them to be a real contender to win it all. Like, this is the worst. I'll say it. It's like the worst team to ever win, 8, 9, 10 games in a row to start the season. Like, they're a good team, but there's been a couple of teams that have done this, but doesn't it just feel like this team doesn't feel like a Super Bowl team? It just feels like they're playing and they're getting it done.
It's because of
the way they play,
the way
they win games.
Yeah, the way they win games, their schedule is
even the Baltimore
easy.
game. Like, they should have lost that game. They won that game. The Dallas letdown. Like, if you remember, every team who's a real good team, they have that one game where they just let down. Sure. Like, the undefeated Patriots were undefeated. Like, they were very, very good.
Yes. Yeah.
Like the 1998 Vikings went 15-1. One of the best teams I've ever seen play. The most fun offense, maybe outside of the Patriots with Moss again, or the greatest show on turf. And they had an absolute letdown game against Tampa that year. Like, Tampa wasn't even good. And they lost to a Tampa team. Everybody has that game, and they're just they're having it, but just not for the full game. Where it's like the Dallas game, it's like, oh yeah, we'll get it done here at the end. Or this game, we'll almost let them back into it. We'll get this first down by like a quarter of an inch, which they didn't.
Well,
so
I mean,
I never really thought like this is some great team. Most of my exposure is on them to win the division.
I think you got that.
Like I have small futures on them otherwise, which
they're not losing enough.
We're not hedging those out. We're letting those roll.
They probably have to win one more game to clinch over the Browns, I'm guessing, but I'm not 100% sure what the math is.
Well, especially if it is the Browns game, because they've already got one win over them.
There's five games left, so they need to win two more. But yeah, no, I agree with your sentiment. If last year's regular season Ravens team played the Steelers today in their current form, they would have beat them like 42-10. Like I get exactly what you're saying. But at the same time, like outside of Roethlisberger, who's playing at a league average, a little bit over league average level, they're talented at every position on the field. Everybody is talented. You know what I mean? Like they're up. The roster itself is just absolutely stacked. A little bit of attrition. Yeah, that was tough. Losing Marquise Pouncey today was tough. But they're still an extremely talented team. And I don't think they get by the Chiefs in the AFC. Is that kind of your general feeling?
Yeah, the Chiefs are still the class. The Chiefs could lose another game.
We really want the Steelers to be the 1 seed, right?
That'd give you some value. You'd have some extra value on that line.
I think we get Chiefs under 3 if Steelers are the 1.
Yeah, probably bang on 3. I think I'd put that. I can check my numbers, though. I should pull those up if we're going to go through a bunch of NFL games. Before we do that,
yes,
do you want to spend 60 seconds? Houston has agreed to trade Russell Westbrook to Washington for John Wall and a first rounder. Did you catch that or not?
No.
Literally.
That's a surprising trade.
Wojbomb, not too long ago, a few minutes ago. So Russell Westbrook to the Bullets, I'm going to call them because I hate their new name, for John Wall and a first rounder.
Yeah. Wow.
It's surprising. That's a very surprising outcome, I think. Just based on what all my NBA guys have said over the last couple of weeks. I guess that happened.
I don't know that I love the fit of Westbrook and Beal. Maybe there's more moving parts here. Obviously, I need to hear about what happens to Harden if he stays or goes. One of our Houston guys says for sure he's going to stay this year, as opposed to being traded. We'll see if that manifests. Beal also would have been a great candidate to somebody come make a deal for him because the Wizards aren't competing in the East. So even with Rusty, so I don't know, man.
Yeah, the West is getting weird.
It is getting weird. It's kind of,
it just feels like a gross Lakers repeat, doesn't it?
No, there's some up and coming teams. We'll see. We'll do some.
Well, yeah, I know, but they're still clearly the class of the West.
100%, yes. Yeah,
the East will. It's again, the East will beat up on each other. The Eastern Conference playoffs will be great again, and then you have to play the Lakers after going through 2 tough teams. Probably whoever makes it through there. Like it's similar, and really the Heat were. I mean, they were probably tapped out at that point. They had quite the fucking run. That was a really fun run by them, but I didn't hedge out because of my Heat ticket, but at the same time I wasn't hopeful.
Okay. Well, let's talk football. And let's go right to Sunday because guess what? There is no Thursday night football this week. Are you sad about that?
No, we get tomorrow off. We had to work this afternoon.
Okay.
It's been a strange week.
You're not going to be like, man, I wish there was football on primetime tomorrow. No, I guess you got college basketball. You got college basketball now.
There's basketball. I got to build a shelf over in the corner there too. So I need to get out I just don't have time to get out to the wood shop and cut these boards. I have the brackets. I've got the studs marked. I just have to build it. So tomorrow night I'll be live streaming from the wood shop.
I like it. Okay. Well, we got a full day of football on Sunday.
This is true.
I'm looking at 12 games. Did you know there were 2 teams on bye this week?
Yeah, I saw that. Was there anyone on bye last week?
There was no byes week 12. There are 2 byes this week. Can you name them off the top of your head?
So the original schedule was moved because of everything that happened. And that's why we have no 12 and some 13, but no, I don't know if I can name them. Well, Washington's playing. No clue, man.
No Tampa Bay this week.
Okay.
Tampa Bay gets a week off to pull their shit together because they've been struggling. And no Carolina Panthers this week. So Teddy Bridgewater gets a week to get healthy, and hopefully DJ Moore as well. Sunday, we have the first game in the rotation is Detroit Lions taking on the Chicago Bears. Rematch of a week 1 weird one. You remember what happened in that game? Bears were the hot. Lions were the hot side all summer.
They were the hot side and they were the right side, and they were ahead clearly. And then they suffered the world's fastest cluster injury. Cluster injuries take weeks, sometimes a good month, like what we see in Baltimore, where it took them probably from the beginning of the season with the retirement to get their offensive line to where it's probably a cluster injury at this point. Whereas that happened in a matter of like a quarter. And all of a sudden they're, a guy who's playing like special teams is like your number one corner.
Trying to cover Allen Robinson. Yeah.
And trying to cover Allen Robinson. And, say what you will about Mitch Trubisky, he can throw against low-level replacement players with a good receiver like that. So that was an amazing comeback from the Bears. And the right side was Detroit. The right side did not win, and the rest is history. The Bears got to 5-1 and have not won any games since. They're back where they should be. And Mitch is back on the field, but that was the right side this time. I'm not so sure it's the right side this week, because jeepers, criminy cripes, the Lions continue. Well, it's just like Galladay didn't. How do you back a team like that? Galladay didn't practice. He's probably out.
Yep, I would guess yes.
I think the corner is out as well.
It's just not playing. Yep.
Yeah, it's super tough to back Detroit here, but at the same time, Chicago has done nothing to make me want to take them even at this price.
They scored some points in the second half of that Green Bay game.
Yeah, like they're good for garbage points, and that's it. This is such an ishy game because probably the bet, if I had to make one, if I update, I didn't even update my Lions stuff yet because I wanted to wait for some of this injury stuff to have a little more clarity, but it's probably close to a Chicago bet, and that's not something I want to start my week out with.
Yeah, you know why? Because this team has all but quit on Matt Nagy.
That's exactly. Yep.
Akeem Hicks did not play in that Green Bay game, and that kind of
mattered.
Unraveled. I would say it unraveled the defense in terms of their ability to, number one, generate any pressure, and number two, it exposed what is some of their weakness in the running game. And on top of that, I still thought the defense played hard. They just didn't have very good players on the field because the team is kind of talent deficient. They are stars and scrub unit, and one of their stars was out. And the replacement level guys didn't do a super job, but it's because they're replacement level guys. And after the game is over, Nagy comes out and just firebombs the team for their effort. And it felt completely unfair, like inappropriate. I did not think that was a reasonable take by Nagy at all. And in a locker room that was already pretty tenuous, you've already gone back and forth now on your quarterback decision. Coming out and doing something like that, I think you could probably lose this team. I would say that with Mitch Trubisky on the field, the offense is a little friskier. I would say that points are more likely, both offensive and defensive points for the Lions are more likely with Mitch on the field. And I did stare for a while at this total. I don't have any opinion on the side. It's come in from 6-3. That's fine. I don't think there's really a right side in this. I agree with you. Total's down in the 44.5 range. Does that feel reachable? I guess if Trubisky does anything positive, because there was a lot of defensive injuries for the Lions on Thursday night too, right? Thursday football, they lost some big bodies. It's a mash unit out there, and Darrell Bevell taking over for the fired Matt Patricia. He's an offensive guy. What if you take the reins away? You take the Patricia conservatism out of the picture here. Maybe Bevell is a little bit more, has coaches with a little more gumption, a little more testicular fortitude. I don't know.
I guess if you're him, you're kind of maybe eyeing for actually getting the job. It's not completely unheard of for an interim coach to take the head coach. He's never been a head coach, I don't think. He's just kind of been OC everywhere, but including Minnesota. I can remember him being our offensive coordinator, I want to say mid 2000, somewhere maybe 2005 or something like that, maybe with Childress those were issue years, but he's never had the head coaching job. This could be maybe his inroad to getting one if he can get this team to play well. So certainly motivation for him there, but just based on where he's been and what he's done as an offense, I'm not super excited about him, especially with the pieces. You can say, well, he's motivated and he'll want to be more offensive minded compared to Patricia, who was a defensive guy. But still, when you're lacking the talent and the talent is hurt, it's going to be awful tough. The Bears defense is good. What is the update on Hicks?
I haven't seen anything that suggests he's going to go, but
I didn't.
He's a guy that played through injury last year. So if he's anywhere close, he will probably go.
Yeah.
Either way,
I would be more interested in the Thunder.
Oh, you're thinking under? Oh, okay.
I'm not.
I'm going to swerve then. I'm going to stay clear because I've been staring at this number. I've been staring at this number for like 2 days. Like,
Just think about game script wise. It's a little rough for me to try to get involved in this over. If Chicago's playing poorly on offense, even against a bad defense again, the game script turns to the Lions just chugging it out like they have. And the same thing goes with the just Chicago's offense, who's conservative and bad as it is. Like whoever has a lead should be able to move the ball on the ground a little bit and just gross this game out at the end. This will be one. Yeah, if you don't bet it, it's not worth watching for sure.
Swift might be back for the Lions.
That would help. Swift would help, I would think. But again, probably help.
Lions might be playing a little bit more inspired now that Patricia's gone. Right? Like they were ready to see him go. Like clearly the reaction from that Lions team on Patricia's firing was smell you later. Like get the hell out of here. We are ready to move on as a franchise.
We are the world.
What you don't think that they play a little bit more inspired, a little harder, a little because guess what? Like they still got to all get contracts. Like they're all in the balance now too. The GM got fired. This whole roster is going to get turned over in the offseason. Like these guys now need to figure out they got to play for next year's contract. So I don't know. I get why people are betting the Lions on this. I don't hate the over.
I can't do it. Okay. I think I'm pretty much on market with both numbers, and I am full skip. So take me to Miami. All right, I'll tee it off.
Yeah, go ahead.
Cincinnati's just not as fun to watch now. Even when it was a bad game and maybe you didn't have action, I would still be keenly interested in watching Joe Burrow play, and that has been taken away from us. And really, the same kind of goes with Miami with Tua's, coming into the league partway through the season once they finally decided to unleash him. And now I've kind of lost a little bit of that too. I should find the guy who DM'd me. I probably won't be able to very fast. I didn't blow this person off, but at first I was just like, I have to think about Miami a little. And there is some uncertainty here, but somebody asked me like Miami is a teaser leg. And then I looked at a few things and it does fall into that secondary range that we are calling the 10.5, 11, 11.5. It's not a true Wong leg, but they are a home team. You could take it across 10, 7, and 6, which we've shown with the math is enough to pay for the minus 260 price that you have to get for that single leg. And the total's at 42 against a, replacement level backup quarterback, whatever you want to call him. A team who's also suffering from numerous. They had another like Auden Tate. He's done for a while now. You can say Auden Tate's not very good, but whoever's behind him is worse. Like it doesn't matter who you lose. When you lose players, it's not great. So Cincinnati's had a bad stretch here. This is why it's funny when we think about the beginning of the year last year, how the Dolphins were being lined as a team. To say the Dolphins would be like a double-digit favor over anybody in this short of a turnaround, but where Cincinnati sits as a team right now, that's probably a fair price, and this is probably a teaser leg for me.
Okay, interesting. I was disappointed in Miami last week. They bring in Fitzpatrick. They're going up against a Jets defense that is extremely undermanned and maybe one of the least talented defenses going. Is it the least talented? Probably is the least talented defense.
Do you think they just played down a little? Like it was just a
but you bring Fitzpatrick back in. You bring Fitzpatrick back in. That should at least open up the top of your offense a little bit. They couldn't generate anything on the ground. The offensive line played a little spotty. They were sloppy. But 2-3 turnovers in that game. Maybe they play a little sharper with the now that if Fitzpatrick is out there, but I don't know. I'm a little worried about the Miami offense. There's a lot that's not working scheme wise. It doesn't look great. They have a long way to go if they're going to make any kind of noise in the playoffs. I have to say, defense is amazing, and maybe that's really where your angle is here. I can see a scenario where the Miami defense holds the Cincinnati Bengals to 3 points. I mean, this could be one way. There's the Miami defense can really only be hurt on the ground, right? You can't pass on these guys. The cornerbacks are too good, and I don't know. There's not enough. There's the offensive line for Cincinnati's poor. The running backs is Mixon even in the league still? What's going on with Mixon?
There's rumors that he is.
Okay, well, maybe he's playing, maybe he's not. But regardless, the running attack for the Cincinnati Bengals has been toothless, and that's really kind of the only way you can move. The handicap
is just, I don't think Cincinnati scores. Like the fact that you can get it to like 5.5, it's just Miami's defense gets a couple short. Even if they don't get some short fields, like you basically need 3 good drives the whole game.
They got 17 points against the New York Giants defense last week, including 7 points from a kick return touchdown. That ain't good. Let's throw Cincinnati team total under into the conversation for secret pod play.
Yeah, that is.
What's that number going to be? Like
20, Austin, the guy 20? Who do the Austin had an under in that.
Be way less. It's going to be like 17.
It's going to be low.
It's going to be tiny.
But yeah, I knew someone who had an under in that game, and the way it started, it was like, oh shit! Like it's 14 points like that. When you get a kick return like that, it's not a great way to start things. But that game did end up staying under.
The team total under is going to be juicy under 16.
Wolf. Yeah, that's pretty tough. That's pretty tough. You know what I'd rather do? I'd rather just tease Miami. And it's probably happening.
Crazy. Would you use Miami as a survivor pick?
This late in the year, it depends who you have. This becomes such a convoluted question. It's like when someone asks a fantasy question and then you have to be like, is it half point PPR? How many quarterbacks can you start? Like, can you have to start a tight end? Because there's so much context that goes to a question like that. And it's the same. It's 100 times worse. Like we've gone so far. We're into week 13. Like, would you use Miami? I guess. Like,
no one has Miami left. Forget it. No one has them left. Everybody used Miami against the Jets a couple of weeks ago. If they didn't use them a couple of weeks ago, they used them last week. So
a good team to use this week would be if you have Minnesota left.
Against the Jags. Yeah, we'll get to that game.
That's not a bad spot either. But Seattle against the Giants is a good leg. Green Bay, Philly. These are some good teams that you probably have used up. But some people save good teams and they're smart about it.
Okay. Well, who's the money line parlay buster this week? Because there's some big old numbers on the board.
Oh man, it might be like Seattle. That would be the funny one.
All right, let's move down to an interesting handicap, a very interesting handicap in the Indianapolis Colts heading to the Houston Texans. Haven't seen these two teams play this year. Every year, this is a pretty interesting game. Both of them are pretty interesting. They play twice a year. And this week, we have a fascinating injury situation to evaluate. We were bullish on Houston on Sunday's pod. A lot of that was on the basis of Deshaun Watson is performing like a god. And Indianapolis defense is overrated. I don't know if you saw the first half of that Tennessee game, but you take DeForest Buckner out of this lineup, and you can absolutely score on these guys. The problem is Deshaun Watson loses his most valuable weapon, period. Full stop. Will Fuller out for the rest of the season with a PED suspension. Where do we go from here, Houston? do they have enough weapons in the passing game to keep up with whatever the Colts can do? Because Houston Texans defense ain't good enough to stone the Colts and win an ugly 20-17 type of game, are they?
No, and yeah, where do you go from here? This is one of those serendipitous moments where we were sitting there, as we often do on Sunday openers, fully ready to fire on Houston. And if it had been +3, we would have a Houston ticket, wouldn't we?
Yes.
Absolutely would have had. The reason we
yes.
don't have a Houston ticket, it was +2.5. And I said, I don't think this is going to fly. I don't think it's going to move hard. And we'll wait for money lines to come out, and we'll just bet Houston on the money line. Even if it's moved a little and it goes to +100, it's better than paying juice for 2.5 points. And we said, all right. Shook hands, said good deal, walked away from that game, and then this happened. So sometimes you're the baseball, sometimes you're the bat. We got a little lucky that we didn't place a we did. We got lucky we didn't place a bad bet on this, and it worked out for us here. And that sucks. Like, go look what the line. It's out to 3.5. You know, if you really want Houston now, you certainly could get it at a better price, but no interest probably in getting too involved in this game unless, man, Houston is just too beat up at wide receiver, I think. Well, I guess we'll see. This will be interesting. Probably this is going to be a game I'm going to pay attention to. I usually have 2 or 3 that I really look at and say, like, this is a spot I want to look into live betting. And this will be one of those, like, if Houston's offense is looking like it's moving with, you know, whatever you want to call it, replacement level backup receivers, like, it might be a spot to get involved live. And not only Houston, but possibly just a straight up over. Like, if Houston's offense is clicking, they're going to give up points to Indy can move, especially on that defense. You saw what a depleted Detroit was doing at times. Again, ref assisted and defensive score assist. Ref assisted at time, but it's not like full scoring drives by Detroit. But there were chunks. They were getting chunks even without the refs. The refs were helping them finish those drives. So Indianapolis, I believe Indy to be the better offense between what the Lions put out there and what we're going to see from Indy.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree.
So if Houston is able to get the ball going at all, I'll probably be on a live over. But other than that, glad we didn't bet it.
I ended up making a play on this game.
What'd you bet?
I bet the under.
Oh yeah, you did say that.
This was up in the 54.5 range before the Fuller news.
Yeah.
Fuller news comes out, that throws cold water on my, Houston boner. And I started thinking through, okay, wait, what is Buckner going to be back? Do a little digging. And he comes off the COVID list. If he has negative tests this week, he comes off the list on Saturday. So we'll know at some point later this week if Buckner will be available. Autry, same situation. Injured linebacker Bobby Okerley probably doesn't go, but may go. And maybe more than anything, I am nervous about Indianapolis's offense having much success in this one, regardless of how soft Houston's defense is. Phillip Rivers is struggling. He does not have a lot of chemistry with these wide receivers, and he lost his most important pass blocking tackle. Costanzo will not be available for this game, maybe not for a couple games. And Ryan Kelly is ailing as well, his center. All of a sudden, kind of the strength of this offense, which was their cohesive offensive line, is being
for
tested.
Years, like for a couple of years in a row. They were one of just a top 3 offensive line. The cold water I will throw on the Phillip Rivers thing is when Phillip Rivers struggles, he doesn't struggle as in, oh, he just can't convert a third down. He struggles in, oh, he just threw a pick in the shadow of his goal line. Like I worry. That's what kind of, because I looked at that total when the news came out. I said, what am I expecting from it? Because that the big change is Houston. What happens with Houston is they lose a big piece of their offense. So you have to look at the other side. And I said, what do I expect from Indy here? And it's either I get Phillip Rivers playing well against a softer off defense, or if I get bad Phillip Rivers causes points for the other team. And I ended up just saying. I mean, it's high, but what Indy is just such a dead nut over team lately. I'm scared off this one. And if we get like a light first quarter, but Houston's looking okay on offense and just dips down to, like mid 40s, I'll probably be on a live over.
Okay. Let me take you back in time about 1 year. Thursday night football, Houston, Indianapolis.
Thursday night football.
Indianapolis
just trying to make me sad because we don't get Thursday this week.
Yeah, exactly. Indianapolis was coming off of a weird stretch. They lost 2 games to Steelers and Dolphins, beat the pants off the Jaguars, and they come up against Houston on Thursday night football. And Frank Reich took the ball out of Jacoby Brissett's hand in that game. He was basically like, look, we can beat this team on the ground. We're going to run it down their throats. And it was one of the more grinded out, low scoring contests we've seen in a long time. They end up losing. It was 20-17 in that contest, Houston. But after what Phillip Rivers did and the mistakes he made in that Tennessee game, I will not be surprised at all if he takes the ball out of Phillip Rivers' hands. He's been taking it out of his hands on a lot of plays anyway.
I thought about that too, but again, with the offensive line injuries, are you excited about running the ball either? I don't
think so, but I also don't think
I'd go full Pittsburgh, like just short shit, constant short shit.
Give me on a scale of 0 to 10. Give me where you would rank Phillip Rivers' mobility.
Oh, 4. he's
Phillip Rivers.
He's
mobility.
Yes, he's
4
not that,
on a scale of 0 to 10.
Yes, absolutely, he's not that immobile. Like we can laugh about the time he fell down on that fumble return. He can slide around a little. Like compared to a few people, I'm putting him above Brady.
That's crazy.
I'm putting him above Big Ben. No, he's not that horrible. Fine.
I don't mind having him on the same level as Big Ben, but the mobility is a huge problem. And if somebody's coming around is on his blind side, if it's JJ Watt coming around on his blind side, he's in deep trouble. And I don't know.
Washed.
And
then he fumbles.
So washed. He got an interception return for a touchdown and got Houston rowing in the right direction in that Thursday night game. I don't know, man. He's no TJ Watt.
How many sacks do you have this
certainly.
year?
I don't know. I'm going to guess 5.
That seems high.
You think JJ Watt doesn't have 5 sacks?
He has 4.
I guess that was high.
And he hasn't had one in a month.
Yeah, but he has an interception return for a touchdown last week, and he had some nice pressures. He had some nice pressures last week. I thought Stafford got rid of the ball because Stafford is more mobile than Phillip Rivers is.
He did have one versus the Jaguars.
Okay. Well, regardless, I think and
if you want to make that point, then all of a sudden we're gonna. I guess it's strip sack. Strip sack time. I just want no part of this under.
I'm in at 52.5. It's down to 51. I think fair total is 49. I think once Buckner's news comes across the wire on Saturday, I think this trickles down some more. I think this eventually becomes a 49. And so if you like the under like I like the under, then I think now is your time to fire. The fact that it's a divisional game is nice. The fact that these guys are so familiar with each other is nice. The fact that you have a skittish, not aggressive Romeo Crennel on one side of the ball is nice. And I need to see Deshaun Watson beat me without his most important weapon on the field to be convinced that this is still an over team for Houston. Why don't you tell me about your boys in purple?
The Ravens playing?
No.
Oh, my Minnesota
Vikings.
What's the Lizzo song? Minnesota Vikings. This might be a teaser leg if Jacksonville money comes in. It might be a teaser leg anyway. It's sitting at 10.5. Boy, is there going to be a teaser round robin this week? That's not a bad spot either. Jacksonville, Minshew is healthy, and yet they are sticking with the giraffe. And he didn't look bad last week. He looked kind of squirrely. This offense looked a little squirrely, kind of the nothing to lose vibe. Minnesota, speaking of that was such a weird game. I don't know how long we want to spend on continuing to talk about that game. Boy, I don't even want to be like, if I were a fan, I'm not sure I'd be excited about that game. I mean, it's such a wonky deal, the whole thing, right?
Yes.
Like how the second half went. Like, so I ran somewhere for halftime Was that what time was that game? Was that an early one?
Yes.
So I was doing something and I had bet the second half over. It was 23 with a plus 100. And I turned I stepped out, I turned on the score app and it popped right away. And I knew the Vikings had started with the ball. I'm like, Kirk Cousins scored in like 30 seconds. What are we doing here? And then you see like the wrong team scored, and I pulled it up and Jeremy Chin. And then I thought I was going out to grab something from the store, and I thought my score app just glitched because it said Jeremy Chin had scored again. And I'm like, oh, the score app's just doing this thing. And you look, and I checked like 3 score apps. So I'm sitting there. I'm like, oh, holy shit, what is happening here? It was like 2 minutes into the third quarter. So, I mean, it's like congratulate yourself for digging out of the hole that you dug yourself. They had the nice comeback and whatever. Like it was nice, and it was nice to see Jefferson play well without Thielen. But again, the team is kind of a mess at times, right?
Yeah.
Like Kirk Cousins isn't a bad player. Like he's just never going to be a great quarterback. I think maybe the squirreliness for Jacksonville is one of those 1 week things where you didn't have it's not like you don't have tape on the guy. He's been in the league for a while, but you didn't have tape on how the scheme was going to go. Minnesota's not a great defense. You've seen how this total is. We bet this at, what did we bet it at? 50 and a half?
Yeah, I believe it was 50 and a half.
So we bet this over at 50 and a half on the opener stream on Sunday. 52 and a half, that's probably more like it. Wouldn't be surprised if it tickled up a little more. Minnesota as a teaser leg is a little scary just based on how bad the defense is. We saw what's been done to it by the likes of, the backup Dallas Cowboys, the backup, well, it wasn't truly backup, but the little bit of this and that from Carolina. And, I mean, a team that has a couple of decent receivers might put up some points. Oh, we're hoping they put up points. So it's probably something I'll stay away from on the side and just cheer for chaos and blown plays and a lot of offense.
Yeah,
because I think it's kind of it should be what we're in store for.
Yeah, I mean, Jacksonville's defense can't stop the run. I know Dalvin Cook isn't fully practicing this week, but I expect him to go. I don't really think Dalvin Cook is the difference maker one way or the other anyway. You could probably crush them with Madison.
As a receiver.
Yeah, he's great as a receiver. Yeah, no, I still think the under is strong. I don't like it as much at 52 and a half as I did when we backed it on Sunday. I think we called fair price on this was like 53, right? I think that was
close.
What we both were kind of in that
We can
ballpark.
say whatever. It's not like anybody can go back and check.
It's definitely not on the record somewhere. Yeah. The injury to Chark is a little concerning, although it was interesting that Mike Glennon, who's now a little friskier as a quarterback for the Jags than anything they had from Juice Luton, he can absolutely move the ball down the field through the air more effectively. Did you see that clip that Robert Mays tweeted out of, hey, look at this clip of Mike Glennon looks exactly like Matt Ryan? And he had like he basically had the two cut together in a way that it was like the same number, same towel, same legs length, same neck.
I'm going to have to go find that.
It's insane. It was insane. But it underlines the point though, that Glennon can do a serviceable job throwing the ball down the field, and they have weapons in the passing game, and their defense stinks. And all that said, it matches up well against what Minnesota can do well and poorly, that this should equal lots of points in this game. So happy to.
Dalvin was limited today, but it's Wednesday. It's early in the week for a running back who's coming off an injury. Limited was probably the likeliest outcome. Thielen, Zimmer says Thielen should play. So if you get the full brunt of this Vikings offense together and just the shittiness that is the defense with a quarterback that's just full YOLOing and has a couple. The Shark sucks, but it's still not devoid of talent on the receiving core against a really bad secondary. Points. In fact, I joked about just leaving this teaser leg alone. There's a case to be made for Jaguars plus 10.5, I think. Just
okay. Interesting.
How the last couple of games have gone. You tell me Minnesota's going to blow anybody out by 10 with what their defense has done, especially in the second halves.
Yeah, no, I can't say it. I can't see it, especially because they're not going to get a very good pass rush. Glennon's going to have all the time in the world to throw the ball.
Oh my God, neither that's the biggest part, I think, of this. Neither team should be able to generate much of a pass rush.
Pass rush, exactly.
Like, two quarterbacks with time that can beat you.
Apparently, Dalvin Cook has vowed to play on Sunday. I love it when a guy vows to play.
Well, that's in. I mean, that's 100%. That's take him off the injury report.
Yeah.
If he vowed, where'd you read that? Where did you read that?
It's on Pro Football Talk right now. It's
okay. Well, if he vowed, he's
30 minutes ago. Dalvin Cook limited with ankle injury, but vows to play Sunday.
I'm calling that in. So yeah, we're on the over. I think you could still probably bet it at 52.5 if you don't give a shit about value and really just want to get in on this game.
You think Minnesota as a money line parlay leg is safe?
I wouldn't touch it.
I mean, Jacksonville kind of can't afford to win. They're at 1-10 right now.
They might accidentally win.
2-10, you for sure out of the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes.
I think they're out anyway. I just don't think the Jets get a win.
You don't think they can get a win?
I think that ship is sailed.
You called them winning week 17 against the Patriots.
Maybe.
No? You're walking that back?
I'll have to figure out what the tiebreaker is. I'm going to have to go to Tankathon.
Walking that back. The Jaguars would take over as the number one pick if the Jets win any game. I'm almost sure of that.
So strength of schedule, the Jets have a tougher strength of schedule, which in this case is bad.
Bad, exactly. That's what I'm telling you. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay. Well,
moving on. Fuck.
I'm just laughing because like a Dolphins, Vikings, Seahawks, Packers pays what? Moneyline parlay pays what? You want to guess?
120
plus 107.
I couldn't even get to 120. Wow.
Couldn't even get to 120.
No thanks.
You throw the Raiders in there, minus 369. You could throw the Chiefs in there,
you can keep that sort of stuff.
Plus 190 for the 6-leg moneyline parlay. Somebody's gonna blow it. I can't tell you who.
So good, yeah. Who blows it is whoever's bankroll bets that sort of things. What team always loses?
Whoever bets it is the one who blows it. I'll talk about the Las Vegas Raiders next. I bet them this week. I think this is a good get right spot. Actually, I don't have a lot of confidence in my plays this week, to be honest with you. Like we're in the time of season where these lines, these lines are tight. They're tight. These lines are tight. These games are not wide open. Things are being decided by fluky shit at the end of games. We've seen it now. How many games in a row? In primetime, especially where we just have end of game decides. That said, this is not one of those. I do not think you can hold the Raiders to a second straight horrific offensive performance on the road. They are too good on offense, too good. And this is a legitimately bad, untalented defense, especially their pass defense. Jets will not be able to manifest a pass rush in this game. Jets are missing the only cornerback who can cover any of these weapons. I think Derek Carr is going to have his choice. He can pick wherever he wants to go. You want to go to Ruggs? Go to Ruggs. Edwards, he's open. Waller, he's open. The fact that they will unlikely to have Jacobs available in this one, that's even better. Like, don't even bother running the ball on because the Jets can kind of stop the run. Quinnen Williams is a very good interior D lineman. I would much rather, put two hats on that guy, keep him from disrupting the pass, and go to work Derek Carr. Get right. Get your confidence back up. He's on the outside of the playoffs looking in right now. As good of a season as the Raiders have had, I think that they absolutely picked their number in terms of their score. I could see them getting to like 49. In this one, 7 touchdowns. That wouldn't surprise me. And I got news for you. The Jets aren't getting to 42.
That's probably fair. What's the most the Jets have scored? Like the Jets aren't getting, I want to clip that. Jets aren't getting to 42 points to be fair, it's a bad defense for the Raiders. And just anything that the ultimate in variance games, like I was worried about I still think, I joked about this. Like in the end, Atlanta was still the right side, and just the ultimate in negative variance like all balled up in a single 60 minutes of football for the Raiders made that box score look really hilarious. Like whatever could go wrong did go wrong. So they got that out of the way at least, I guess. And you get to, the second week in a row, you get to play a bad defense. Might actually do something with this time, not turn the ball over 5 times. Just like I've joked with, having a bad defense is good for an offensive player. If you're looking for him to put up stats, it's like how fantasy players loved Jameis Winston, because a pick 6 is a lot better than a pick. Like he gets the ball right back, just gets to keep throwing it. But this is a team total I looked at just because I feel like, how do I put it? It seems so narrative streety, but when your offense looks like that in a game that you were they're favored in, right? 3-point favorites.
Yes. Terrible spot though. We talked about it.
I know. Let's just aside from the game, in a game, and who knows? Like we always joke that they know the spread. I think enough people do nowadays. Like they had to know they were slight favorites. I would assume most of them do. When you were a slight favorite in your offense,
especially if you live in Las Vegas.
Oh yeah, they live in Las Vegas. Great point. So if you go off as a slight favorite on the road, and you look like that on offense, like it feels like that's what you concentrate on, because that's your identity too. You're a good offensive team. They know their defense isn't great. Like it feels like a game where you have to get the offense going because this is a team that's probably heading to the playoffs. I mean,
it's a crowded field in the AFC,
it's very crowded, but in their mind, you can't say it. Like we can say that, but they can't be like, oh man, it's pretty crowded. I don't think we're going. Like in their heads, in their mind, in their strategy, like we're a playoff team. If we, make X, Y, and Z happen at the end of the year, you can't have your offense playing like shit. So this is the ultimate it's a slump buster. This is the 2:30 a.m. The lights are a little dim. Yeah, she's not that good looking, but she's got a loose sweater on, so she doesn't look that thick. And you take it home, and
why she got to be thick.
Is that bad? Thick is in. No, big buns are in right now. But either way, this is the ultimate in slum busters. Is the Jets. So this team totals 27. Like I'm pretty tempted to hammer that as well. Like let's
put that in the consideration for.
I mean, if you had to bet 7, to be fair, I'd probably like this -7.5 or sell it out even further over the 27. But I'd like them both.
What does your power number tell you this shot would be? I mean, what's your power number on the Jets? Out of curiosity,
low.
Because they're my worst team by far, and it's not close.
Yeah, no, they still are. And
my points versus an average team, I have them 8.5 points worse than an average team.
I mean, I make it like 11. So yeah, fuck. Should I just play this?
It's up to you, man. I don't know. There's a way to get in. There's a way to get into this one, I think. And I mean, Sam Darnold,
here's something as well.
3 points last week.
I didn't tweet this out yet, but I may have teased him with the Dolphins already. I just pulled up my pendings. I kind of forgot about this.
Oh, it's also a really good teaser leg.
Yeah, great one. Perfect. Sitting at 7.5 or 8. I guess it was 8 when I bet it because I got a -2. So yeah, I have the Raiders. So the Raiders not straight up, like don't bet the money line, but the Raiders against the spread, Raiders teaser, Raiders team total over. I think this is a good spot for their offense to get rolling. Roll. The autumn wind is a Raider.
The autumn wind is a Raider, and the autumn is winding down. All right. Well, we're generally in agreement there. I got a controversial take on this next one, and before we get there, I'm curious what your thoughts are. So why don't
I thought you were going to do an ad. Like before we get there,
well,
I'd like to talk to you about what's Bill Simmons one? What's his beer? About Heineken, boy, get yourself a frosted mug too. Just changes the game. Just gave Heineken free money there.
No, do not drink Heineken. It literally
it's not a good beer. It's not that good.
Literal piss in a green bottle. Ugh. Why don't you talk about set the table here for the rematch in Atlanta between the Saints and the Falcons?
Atlanta, if you want to talk about what a low spot that was. What a high spot. And again, maybe not all of it their doing. They were gifted a lot of nice fields, turnovers, screw ups. They're not a bad team though. New Orleans, kind of the same thing. I don't know if there's ever been a bigger gift. I'm trying to think back, as far as like another team, maybe, there's been plenty of injuries midweek where like a quarterback is hurt in practice.
Sam
or
Darnold getting mono before the Browns game.
Yeah, that was big, but like going 5 steps further and forcing a guy who wasn't even on the roster.
Yeah, no, this is
in a
clearly,
different position.
clearly,
They're in the same ballpark, but this is over the fence into the bay kind of shit. Like the biggest gift that's ever been handed to a team, and the timing of it is in a spot where they're on their backup quarterback as well, who has turned out to be pleasantly not terrible. If you're a New Orleans backer. Still, I'm not sure he's a long-term answer as a starting quarterback in the league. He's getting paid like it, but irregardless, which is not a word, they kind of got a gift. Yeah, it's regardless, but they were given a gift in this, and they took full advantage, and we got to see exactly what it looks like when you go full back on, like, this is not even good. We're not even going to get a backup quarterback to start. It's a wide receiver throwing. You can see how bad this product could be. I never want to hear anybody bitching about Juice Luton or any of these other backup quarterbacks, because it could always be worse. Apparently, that was unwatchable outside of the entertainment value of watching just how few yards they would generate on offense. The fact that they scored, I guess, was surprising in the long run. And New Orleans, what can you take away from that game? So that's where I'm going with both of these. What can I take away from either of those games for New Orleans and Atlanta, who are just absolutely gifted wins by, a complete screw up game by Oakland, Las Vegas, LA, whatever. And, the ultimate Corona 2020 game, really tough for me to really make adjustments for these teams. I guess I'll ask you that question. Did you make adjustments to these teams in your numbers this week? And if you did, how much, why, and what direction? I could guess I get behind Atlanta being up a little just because what Vegas did, that's usually what Atlanta does. That's their MO. Like, we're going to be the screw up team that deserved to win this game. Not that Vegas did, but that maybe deserved to be in this game. And it was never close because we fully falconed it.
Yeah.
The fact that they didn't do that, give them a little
adjustment at all for New Orleans. No adjustment at all for New Orleans. Atlanta did get adjusted up by about 3% win probability against an average team. So, they actually moved Atlanta across 50%. They're now above average by my numbers.
Nice.
Their offense is getting better. Still problematic. I think this is, I think there's a case for a lot of positive regression for Atlanta in this game, especially in the red zone. They continue to kick field goals instead of score touchdowns. I think there's a chance for some negative regression for the Saints defense in this one. They've been playing out of their mind well, but not well enough to warrant, this very, very low total, considering I think, Taysom Hill and the rushing attack and the short passing game that they're operating, and Sean Payton's offense in general, is going to score points on this Atlanta team. I think they're going to get into the 20s. And Atlanta, if they can answer, if they can improve their red zone efficiency, I like the over, really. I think this is too low. I know the first game between these two teams was a dead nut under, but on a quick turnaround for a rematch, I think it's realistic that what New Orleans was doing defensively in that game, they have no incentive to change. They run it back and they do exactly what they did last time, except, oh, by the way, Janoris Jenkins not likely to play. That could be a problem going up against a team that has as many passing weapons as Atlanta Falcons do. Granted, I'm not expecting Julio Jones to go. But regardless, New Orleans runs back with their same defensive scheme. Atlanta just saw it. I think Atlanta can make the right adjustments in terms of their protection to prevent the number of sacks that they conceded last time. And a little bit of positive regression for them in the red zone. I think Atlanta gets into the 20s here. I think New Orleans gets into the 20s here. I think this is decided relatively late. I think this is a close competitive game. I like over 46. I think fair total here should be 48. Not a huge edge at all, but I do like the way that this sets up from a situational standpoint. And honestly, New Orleans is, they're on a little bit of upset alert here, I think. I hate backing a team after adjusting them up because there's a possibility that my numbers in the market overall is an over adjustment based on a single game sample size. Like, that's not great. But I don't hate Atlanta as a side this week. What are your thoughts on that?
I almost went the other way. My numbers say 2, but at the same time, the New Orleans injuries just aren't baked into my price properly. And probably a stay away, because if I do bake everything in there, I'm probably pretty close to being on market with this. So I don't want to get involved in this. I have trouble with that too. When, everything I just fucking espoused there was, we just have 2 teams where I don't have a good feel on where they're actually headed because I was not given a decent litmus test based on how they played last week. Sure. So it's usually a stay away game for me, especially when it reminds me of the Tampa New Orleans game where I said I can't make adjustments to either of these teams because it was such a cluster of a game just off the bat, and it was probably for the best because adjusting either of those teams too far would have been disastrous over the next couple weeks. And I guess I'm fine staying away from this. I can lean towards you a little just because New Orleans has been able to score, and as much as their pass rush has been good. Oh boy, we got another immobile quarterback here, although he is very close to our guy in Jacksonville, apparently. Yeah, Atlanta against this pass rush.
He got sacked 8 times last game. It's not a surprise. Yeah. I mean, but again, if you run out the same exact game plan at Atlanta offense and you get sacked 8 more times, that's inexcusable. Like you just went through this 2 weeks ago. Like, you basically have an extended halftime here to tweak your game plan to be better in this game, I think.
Yeah, no. What do you call it when the jury, not a hung jury, but just like vote of no confidence, something like that. No, I want no part of this.
Okay. What do you think of Cleveland, Tennessee? Another one where we don't really know what's going on with the COVID situation in Cleveland. We'll assume that it's nobody important. And we know who it's not. It's not Myles Garrett.
Oh, he's back.
He's back. We don't know what his situation is in terms of how he was affected, if he was affected. But regardless, Cleveland is still shorthanded. OBJ is still gone. Denzel Ward not gonna be available here. And Tennessee is coming off of a very, very impressive win against Indianapolis. They did it on the back of a very physical running attack. Derrick Henry is kind of in his peak form, end of season, difficult to tackle, and complementing the passing offense from what Ryan Tannehill is doing extremely well. This Tennessee offense is very dangerous. They should beat Cleveland, right?
Yeah, my number's pretty nut on with the price, especially it's not, but if I make a little bump for Ward, and it's going to be right there. Like this is probably a really fair price for this. Cleveland may be one of the most fraudulent 8-3 teams ever. Not to say they're a bad team. They're like they should be a little over 500, not 8-3. Right there. Yeah, they should be like 6-5.
Why are they?
They're still 8-3 is a little stretchy. They have scored fewer points than their opponents as a whole, and they're 8-3. Right? They're like negative 20 to to the differential right now. Go look at the
when
old
they
NFL.
they lose with gusto. It's impressive.
Yeah, the Steelers. I mean, think of the Steelers game. I mean, it
Steelers
was
game,
like
game.
a million
they
to
got
nothing. But yeah, the Ravens game.
they got their doors blown off in those two games.
Yeah, when they have lost in division, they've gotten the shit beat out of them. So that's what happens. They are winning. I guess if counterpoint to my argument about it is like negative 19 points to the differential right now. Counterpoint would be they're winning their close games or they're getting it done. But man, some of these close games, it's like, man, that was Jacksonville. What are we doing? And another counterpoint would be, there was a goddamn hurricane that came off Lake Erie. And it was a gross game. What do you want us to do? We can't blow out a bad team if we can't throw the ball at all. So I don't have a strong take on Cleveland, who's played the last month of games in the weather. And I'm probably staying off this as a whole, although I am looking very hard at this under. Even with what Tennessee did last week, even with just because I don't think Cleveland's offense is that good. And it could just be a running game. And if I was attacking Cleveland, like if you're Tennessee, I don't know. I just have a game script in my mind where Tennessee gets a lead here and Cleveland is just inert with the ball and can't get anything done. And it just turns into a gross game. Cleveland backdoors it to make it close to the spread. It ends up like, this ends up like 26-20 or something like that.
I shouldn't bet this game then because my game script is so different.
I'd love to hear it. That's why we do this. And hopefully that's why people listen because they have ideas in their head and they compare it with ours. And hopefully people are blindly betting what they think.
I'm in a very different place in terms of game script.
I'd like to hear your place.
I am worried that Titans are sluggish to start offensively because of how easy it was against Indianapolis. And because you're going to have a healthy pass rush with Myles Garrett back. And Myles Garrett in the first quarter of this game with fresh legs, he could be extremely disruptive. Tannehill tends to hold on to the ball too long. That's maybe his one demerit. And if Myles Garrett is having a nice day against a depleted Tennessee offensive line, I can see some key stops here for this Tennessee defense while they figure the Cleveland defense, while Tennessee figures out what they want to do offensively in this game. On the flip side, Tennessee can't generate a pass rush. That's really the best way to ruin Baker Mayfield's day is to get in his face, get some pressure. Cleveland's offensive line is effective.
They really just can't. They can't get anything done with the pass rush.
No. Baker Mayfield is going to have all the time in the world. We're going to learn one thing.
Like a legitimate threat to win the conference if they had a good pass rush and Adoree Jackson came back.
Absolutely. And they went and signed Jadeveon Clowney, and it don't matter. Clowney isn't playing, but it has not mattered. If Baker Mayfield does not put up an impressive stat line in this game, we know something about him for sure, right? Like it's now or never, really. Like you're going to have all the time in the world to do well. The weather is not a problem.
Or not?
What? Sing what?
It's now or never.
It's now or never.
Did you look at my video of the kicker, Justin Tucker? I posted on the timeline. He has a gorgeous voice.
I saw our friend Noah Riddell sent me a YouTube clip as well of him singing like Ave Maria.
It's probably the same damn one. I found the same one.
Oh, okay. Either way, Baker Mayfield now or never, really and truly. Like if you can't put up stats in this game, then you're not the guy. And there's not a lot about Cleveland's offense that's inspiring. Tennessee's defense is not good, and this is kind of a very difficult matchup. To put a number on, I would say I was leaning over, but I want a live over after I think we see some stagnant offense early from Tennessee. I like the idea of this going over if Tennessee is playing with a deficit. I
was just going to say, if Cleveland comes out and gets it doesn't even have to be a fluky score. If Cleveland just scores, I will be looking at some overs. Okay. But I just don't, most of my media, this is made up, like just mashing up math with nothing, but my median game script is not that, if that makes sense.
No, I get it. And maybe that's the right way to frame this then. If Tennessee does well early, this is a good live under spot. If Cleveland does well early, this is a good live over. And if they're trading scores, then the live total is probably going to be pretty damn close to correct. So
yeah, if you're out there riding your stationary bike watching this, pay attention to some of this stuff because it might come in handy Sunday. You might think you have you might think you have totals licked with your cute little model, but you never know. Things can change on the dime in the NFL, especially with Baker Mayfield.
Yeah,
Kelly's been DMing me, so I just been.
You remember the Tennessee Cleveland game last year, week 1? We were being hosted by BetSperts in Las Vegas. Baker Mayfield threw 3 picks. 2 of them went for touchdowns, maybe.
Oh yeah, we had the Baker Mayfield. That was our guy that we bet on overs for picks, it was a gorgeous. We did it like 15, so it was a beautiful start for that. It was. All right, what's next?
New York Giants versus the Seattle Seahawks. I have a 0.0 read on this game, and most of it is because Colt McCoy will be the quarterback for the New York Giants, and Seattle can't really perform well as a favorite. We know this. I guess I'll point out that Seattle's defense has been playing up. They've played up now 3-4 weeks in a row. They are kind of on the same trend as what we saw from New Orleans Saints earlier this season, where they started horrifically and then kind of got their feet under them and then got a little bit better and got a little bit better, got a little healthier. I would not hate an under here, but it's so low already at 46.5 that I can't realistically consider it. I would not hate a Seattle side here, but the way Pete Carroll coaches makes me want to jump off a bridge. So I think this is a stay away. Do you think Russell Wilson just gets the win, stays healthy, everybody stays healthy, and move on down the schedule here, or do you think the Giants are somehow alive?
This is not one I spent a lot of time looking at, man. I mean, especially they kind of went back and forth on it. They said, "Oh, Danny Dimes might practice," and like, "Oh shit, that makes me want Seattle even more if he's going to come in here and try to play Willis Reed on our ass and play hurt." But it sounds like it's Colt McCoy. Colt McCoy versus a bad defense versus, do you really want to lay 10 points with a team who has never played a normal game? Couldn't pass faster on this, but I'd lean the same thing I'd lean today. It would be -10 in the under. And it could be a similar game to how we saw today, where you have obviously completely different circumstances, but a defense or an offense that can't do much in the Giants just based on it being Colt McCoy. Even, again, very different circumstances. It's a bad Seattle defense, but it's been getting better, especially for the pass rush. Dunlap, do you have an MRI today? Or what's the update on that guy?
He was going to have an MRI. I think he is legitimately hurt. Chris Carson is also hurt. Let me see. They did the walkthrough today because they played Monday Night Football, as far as I could tell you. Dunlop. Yeah, I don't have anything in my notes that he's going to be out for an extended period of time. But
yeah, I mean, if he's healthy, he's been a big asset. The pass rush has been existent. That's kind of, especially compared to where it was at the beginning of the year, it's existent, and it's mattered, and it does matter a lot because it helps a lot with the coverage, and coverage is where things have been problematic. And Frank and I talked about this earlier. Like it's a marriage between coverage and, people talk about a coverage sack. Well, you can have the other way around too, where it's like your secondary can be struggling and they can get separation, and if the pass rush is getting there quicker, it matters less, especially with a quarterback who is backing up Daniel Jones. So
sure.
If the Seattle's pass rush is, again, existent, they probably get this home, but not something I'm going to get involved in.
Yeah. Okay. I don't disagree. Looks like Dunlop had his MRI, and they were cautiously optimistic that he can play on Sunday. So there may be a pass rush. Colt McCoy, though, not my guy. I don't think.
Colt McCoy. I'm not excited about that at all. That's another one I probably don't even want to watch. Again, you know what I hope happens is this is one where absolutely you want the Giants to get out to a lead, because then it doesn't matter. Look, anything under 60, take the over.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, that's a great point. If Colt McCoy has any comfort,
we'd like a fluke touchdown from the Giants early.
No, that'd be great. Yeah, that'd be great. Or Seattle, under a touchdown. If that comes down, that is a live play is fun. I think Seattle ultimately wins. LA Rams and the Arizona Cardinals is another very interesting handicap. I had a big debate with our sexy German friend Zuma on the Matchbook pod today, because he likes Arizona this week. It's a numbers-based opinion, and I couldn't really refute his points on the numbers. Right? It's tough to make a math case that
I have a
Rams,
good take on this.
It's tough to make a math case that the Rams and the Cardinals are that far apart. There was a lot to read into the Cardinals' performance in Foxborough. I read two things into it. Murray's a little banged up, but not so much so that it's hugely problematic. But Cliff Kingsbury is concerned about him, and he crafted a game plan that was way too conservative and took away some of the important things that Kyler Murray needs in the playbook to thrive. And if that continues, I think that the Cardinals are in absolute deep trouble against the LA Rams, because the Rams, again, they looked awful against the Niners. That happens every single time they play them. I think there's a couple of outliers where they scored some points on the Niners, but they lose to those guys every single time. They just can't get that defense solved. Well, the Cardinals defense, they got solved. In fact, they solved it with they have solved it with
aplomb.
With aplomb. You took the word right out of my mouth. They have solved it with aplomb. What would you guess Sean McVay's against the spread record is in his 6 contests against the Arizona Cardinals in his career?
5-1. I don't know.
6-0. He has never not covered against the Arizona Cardinals. Do you want to guess what the average margin of victory against the spread is?
3.69.
It is 15.5 points.
No, against the spread?
He is covering on average.
You're full of shit. That's 15, a lot.
I know. I can't really recall an example like this where we have a coach who owns the soul of a team in division as much as McVay owns the soul of the Cardinals.
Here's the argument against our friend Suma, and and I know, and everyone should know, we have all the respect in the world for this guy.
Oh yeah, Suma's awesome. Yes,
smart handicapper, great NFL handicapper, great NFL mind, lots of we talk to him daily.
He's riding with me on the Houston under, by the way.
When he's awake, we're chatting him up about other stuff. He's very smart and a great resource. And you can't bet the NFC West with your numbers. We haven't done it all year. I don't think we've gone against our numbers numerous times.
You know what? That's a good point.
100. That's a
really good point.
I hadn't thought about it. I just came up with that now when you said that, because of how you framed the argument with Fabian. I said, man, we go against numbers sometimes, because sometimes you just have to. You say the number disagrees, but X, Y, and Z is going this way, and we have to go against it. And it's actually going to be not just keeping us off a bet, but betting against our power number rankings. And it seems like anytime we do that, it's an NFC West game, usually involving the Rams or Niners. And again, I do not show an edge in this. I absolutely don't show an edge in this one. I have it Rams. Oh Jesus! Well, let's look. I got to take out this home trip. I have Rams minus 0.8.
Okay.
So I would actually show an edge on Arizona, and I agreed with you. We took Rams immediately. In fact, we sold out to 2.5. I was more than happy to take that, just based on the way he's going to be able to scheme against this Arizona team. The fact that I still don't believe Kyler Murray's shoulder. I don't know if it will be good yet this year. That could be a lingering injury that absolutely did affect his decisions when he was making, business decisions. If he was going to run the ball at times, I don't think his passing was affected.
Which direction he was going to run the ball?
Yes. And then, Larry on the COVID list isn't a big mover for me, but it is one fewer target against a defense that has maybe one of the only legitimate shutdown corners in the league, and he can absolutely shut someone down.
Yeah,
and I don't believe this Arizona scheme.
Man. The second and third guys are playing amazing.
The secondary for the secondary for the Rams are, and this is weird to say in such an offensive league, but I think it is maybe true, because what's the opposite of how teams are playing right now with these offenses? It's pass coverage, and a team with really good pass coverage can beat anybody right now because they have a smart coach who can make the best out of a mediocre to above average quarterback. The Rams might be kind of a dangerous team in the playoffs, and it's silly to me based on how I've thought about this team at certain times during the year. And this is one of my, again, going against my numbers, probably one of my favorite plays of the week.
Yeah. Okay. Don't disagree with you. I love that we got it before it hit 3. That's for sure. We got a nice -2.5 in pocket. It was good to sell out too. We're glad we didn't lay the massive juice at 1.5 or 1, whatever it was.
It was like 1.5 minus 127.
Let's talk a couple. Yeah, I just want to point out a couple of key matchup issues. There is no matchup for Aaron Donald. He's going to be in Kyler Murray's face all day. There is a nice matchup for DeAndre Hopkins. You put Jalen Ramsey on Hopkins and let everybody else worry about everyone else. And the secondary for the Rams is just everyone's playing up. Like, they're just all playing well. The matchup that scared me about the Rams last week, the reason we were on the Rams team total under for the secret pod play, was because Whitworth is out, and the Niners always figure out a way to manifest pressure on Goff in a way that turns him into, turns him into a turtle. And
would you say that the Cardinals would be able to manifest that sort of pressure?
I would not say so. No, I would not say so.
I would agree with you, good sir.
They could if they blitz on every play. But I think that's going to expose them to, some of the stuff that McVay has got in his playbook this year that he hasn't in years past even. Really the quick passing attack, the rushing attack for the Rams, what they can do against this Arizona defense, I like it. And conversely, what the Rams can do defensively is a perfect matchup for Arizona. The Arizona looks up and down their schedule, and the Rams are the boogeyman. Really, they're not afraid of Seattle. They'll go in there and give them their best. We've seen it. They're not afraid of the Niners. They went to the Niners week 1. They went to their house and they beat them, right? But the Rams are a problem. They're a problem for them. Rams by 100.
Rams by 1,000. We've already gotten into the late games. Oh my God, we have a weird. I'm looking at this. I'm like, we're almost to Sunday Night Football, but I forgot we have Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah. I got nothing to say on a couple of these, so we'll fly through them.
And some of these we might actually have to do like extended Sunday night stream to talk about the Monday, Tuesday games. We've never had this many Monday,
I don't hate
Tuesday
that.
games.
Let's do that. Let's do that, because I haven't even thought about. I haven't even thought about Pittsburgh.
So yeah, for the purposes of this podcast, if you're listening right now and you are the kind of person who listens all the way through, we are going to stop at the Sunday night Denver KC game. We'll touch on the Pittsburgh Washington, Buffalo San Fran, and Dallas Baltimore games. Sunday we'll do the Sunday stream. We'll do longer. We'll do something.
I haven't played.
We'll figure something out.
I don't think we have odds.
I don't. There's a good chance.
There's nothing up for Dallas, Baltimore.
Yeah, Baltimore and Pittsburgh just played like literally a couple hours ago. So I don't think we're going to waste a lot of time on that. We will find a time. We're going to brainstorm. But this is happening live. Like, you guys who are watching this in the chat, this is how this happens.
An in pod production meeting.
I'm going to check the chat right now.
Philly, Green Bay.
Please talk San Francisco, Buffalo. We'll do that.
Tell me. I didn't play anything in that game. Even though I can't find an edge in that one. I don't get why there's San Francisco money that came into the market. Really, I kind of like Buffalo. Now it's under 3, but we'll get there, I guess. I haven't played anything though. Regardless, Philly, Green Bay, Philadelphia with the miraculous backdoor cover. Great moment in gambling history on Monday Night Football.
It was something.
It was something.
So I'm a sucker for promo bets and horse shit like that. I put down an incredible amount of money, $25 and $50 at a time on Black Friday across like 4 sites on just all kinds of stupid boosted odds and horse shit like that.
Sure.
And one of the free bets that a book offered was on the side on that game. And I always forget to do that sort of stuff. And I said, it's a free bet. It's no risk. I'm getting all my money back if it loses to put on a different game. I said, I'm just going to bet it now. Otherwise I'll forget come Monday. And I bet Seattle minus 5.5.
Oh, look at you getting ahead of the market.
I love when I accidentally do something right. That's my favorite kind of win.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? You know why you won? It's because you had closing line value. The most overrated thing in sports betting, according to some bettors.
Yeah, Kelly says that.
We would disagree. I would disagree with that statement. I love closing line value in NFL, especially. It's extremely valuable. Philadelphia and Green Bay. Is this a letdown spot for Green Bay potentially? I mean, they were amazing on Sunday Night Football. They were getting everything they wanted. Their defense is problematic still. Is this a trappy spot where they are not as motivated as they need to be, going up against a very, very desperate Philadelphia team that may have kind of something maybe clicked in that end of that game against the Seahawks? Did it click? Maybe.
I would like some honesty from Doug. Like, we thought we were, outside of that promo shit in our second half bet, I wasn't really involved in that game, but I was kind of excited to see Jalen Hurts. Like, weren't you?
I wanted to see if he's got any.
I wanted
to figure out what
good, bad, or indifferent. I wanted
to spend a second round pick on him.
That's the thing. They spend a second round pick, and our feeling and everyone's feeling should be, if you do spend a high enough draft pick on a quarterback, you need to find out what you have in him as soon as possible, especially when you're in a situation like this where, yes, they're in the running for a division title, but at the same time, they're like a 3-7-1 team, or maybe worse than that now. I've checked the standings. They're not in a position to be going forward and not knowing if they need to be looking at another quarterback. Wentz does not lead the league in sacks, fumbles, and interceptions anymore. He only leads in 2 of those categories. He is second to, who has the most fumbles in the league? Can you guess?
Oh, wait, let me ask. Let me guess.
Who has the most fumbles?
Quarterback? It's got to be a quarterback.
Yes, it's a quarterback. They handle the ball on every play.
Yeah, on every play. Boy, the most fumbles in the league.
You bet against him.
Fumbles lost or
no, just fumbles. I called him by his brother's name earlier when I was talking about it.
Derek Carr?
It's Derek Carr by a couple.
Really?
He has a bunch. But anyway, Wentz is second. Wentz leads the league's interceptions. Wentz has been sacked like 46 times. Those are legitimately Derek Carr or David Carr numbers. David Carr got sacked about 70 times one year, which is kind of amazing that he lived. I will say it's disastrous right now, and they should get more Jalen Hurts, see what they have out of the guy. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think Doug is screwing the pooch here. And Seattle's offense, when it wants to, against a bad defense, they can – I mean, how would you describe the way they moved down the field?
Seattle's offense against Philly's defense?
Yeah, how could they move down the field?
I felt like it was labored. I felt like they really had to. I felt like Philly's defense played physical. They played up. They made key stops, obviously, on fourth downs. But I guess they moved down in spurts. Yeah,
no, that's fair.
Now, I didn't feel like Philly's offense. I didn't feel like Seattle's offense was flowing. Right, like it felt a little uneven, a little uneasy, a little out of sync.
Yeah.
I mean,
what about Green Bay's offense?
I would say Darius Slay was the key underperformer. Everyone else on that Philly defense played.
He really had a bad day, and then he had that. I mean, that penalty kept that drive alive. That was a really boneheaded penalty.
Yeah.
And then
how has Slay matched up against Devontae Adams in years past in Green Bay, Detroit?
Not good. Well. No, like Slay, and that's the thing. I'll have to check that. Maybe I'm just imagining that, but he's not as good as he once was anyway.
Anyway,
he's not as good as he was. There's a big fall off on receivers. So
yeah,
Green Bay's offense.
They moved
offense last week
effortlessly,
just flowing, just moving.
Barely. I think those guys probably didn't even have to wash their Under Armour.
No, I mean they
were barely sweating.
they made their way down the field with ease.
Yeah.
I like to.
You like the Packers in this spot?
Maybe not at this price, but it's a teaser leg, man. This is a sexy ass teaser leg, right? 8.5, take it down to 2.5. Philly's defense. Philly is fighting. Philly's like a stars and scrubs team. If you took away like 3 stars off of it, like they still have some high end players, but the scrubs are so scrubby that they're dragging them down. You know what I'm trying to say?
I know exactly what you're saying.
It's a hurt stars and scrubs team, and the most important piece is becoming more scrub than star. It's going to be a hard team to back. So, I mean, Green Bay and a teaser leg. That's about all I can do with this one.
Okay, I don't hate that. I mean, I feel like it's a potential motivational low spot just because they're huge favorites because they really don't. And
that's where I'd want to tease it because I think they win.
It
would be awful hard for them to.
Especially,
do you remember our conversation about the Green Bay second half line with the Bears?
Yes, I do.
They know they really screwed the pooch, and that game might end up costing them a 1 seed.
2 huge points.
Yeah, I mean that could have been the difference in some seeding in the playoffs, and all they had to do was just continue to have an aggressive game plan with a good offense. And I don't think you'll see LaFleur be conservative ever again based on that. It's like the Jimmy Johnson quote when they got mad. Remember in the U where they beat the tar out of that one team? And he said, like, way back in the day, we took our foot off the gas and we got backdoored and beat. He's like, and I said I'd never do that again.
Never again.
Hopefully that's what LaFleur does because he has the pieces for this right now.
Okay, that's fair. His team is still giving up tons of garbage time points.
Yeah, and I think it's fine when they're up by like 4 scores, right? Like you're allowed to be conservative when you're up by that much in the fourth quarter. When you're up by that much at halftime against a team who can move the ball, then no, that's not okay. There's a point where it becomes okay. And I think everybody can kind of see when that point occurs, right?
Yeah, okay. That's fair. That's fair. I guess, Wentz being a garbage time guy and Packers conceding garbage time points maybe sets up Philly second half.
Especially if Packers are up big.
Yeah, 28-7 coming on Philly second half. Although at that point,
it'd be Philly team total.
If Wentz gets benched for Hurts, then forget I said any of that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's everything's situational based. You can't get crazy. So,
okay.
Nightcap?
Yeah. No, you're skipping one.
Oh, New England. I didn't see that one. Sorry. This is
Patriots. Go ahead.
If you're an ESPN Plus subscriber, you should go read that article that Preston put out because it's funny. Like that's.
What were some of the takes?
The takes, they were all the same take as us, where it's just like everybody has the same power numbers on these teams. And Pozzola was quoted and he had the same take. And I think Clev, the same thing. It's like, here's the take. And apparently it's well held within the football handicapping community. We make, and when I say I can't speak for Drew, I am going to speak for Drew and multiple other people here. We make the Los Angeles Chargers an edge, a bettable edge at this price, and we'll have no part of it because of the coaching mismatch. And coaching is not quantifiable. I can't put a number on it. You could try, it'd be very difficult. It's a situational thing. And when the coaching mismatch is a chasm as wide as, the Marianas Trench,
you can make it.
The biggest chasm you could imagine that you don't want to get too involved in something like this. And again, New England, it's hard to really grasp what their motivation is at this point. If it's just Bill's pride or the fact that they're just trying to put something together to see what they can do next year. But right now, again, here it is. The whole thing. I have a numerical edge in my power numbers telling me to bet the Chargers, and I will not do it because just the situation based on the coaching right now. We've mentioned that there are many things that get brought up in the media throughout the year that are not forward predicting at all. Where it's like, oh, this team has done this like 4 out of 5 games where they've had this and this has happened. And I want to say it was like, like Seattle having a few bad games with Russ, or the way Denver was always scoring in the fourth quarter. And then you had the Chargers like giving up a double-digit lead on like 4 out of 5 games, losing 3 of those. Like that is one that I don't put in those with the saying this isn't forward predicting. I think it is forward predicting because I think a big chunk of that is just in-game decision making, play calling, getting too conservative, not being aggressive in the right spots, and all of those things point towards coaching. So it's one of those things where I think the trend you see with the Chargers, what's going on with the team and the final results of these games, a lot of it is like it shouldn't be happening. And with a better coach, it wouldn't be. This would be a playoff team.
Yeah, no, 100% agreed. I mean, they're performing like it, except for the final scores, and it's crazy to see it. I ended up taking the over in this game for a couple reasons. I was concerned about. I had aspirations of the Chargers being a top 10 defense this year when we started the season. My rating on them was high, and it's slowly deteriorated. They're clearly in the middling bottom half of the league defensively. Some of that's injury related, some of it's personnel, some of it's coaching. And boy, oh boy, did they get gashed by some design runs for the Buffalo Bills, who can't run to save their lives last week. I think that's a problem. I think New England's going to get whatever they want on the ground in this game. And the New England's offense's strength matches up well with what the Chargers are not defending well right now. New England's offensive line can take Bosa out of the game. He's kind of the only playmaker on defense right now for the Chargers. He's a little banged up too, on top of everything. And New England's defense is still bad. Like, this defense is not good. I don't care what the perception of some of the players on this defense is. They cannot cover all of the weapons in the passing game for the Chargers in this one. This is going to be a shootout, I think. I do not see either team being able to run away, shorten the clock, shorten the game, and I think, this is going to be fireworks. We've seen it with a bunch of the Chargers games in the past when they've had similar type matchups against teams with bad defense. Jaguars comes to mind. I think you're going to get into the 50s here pretty comfortably. I took over 47. I see it's ticking up 48 at Bookmaker now. I wouldn't be surprised if this closes 48 and a half. I think the over is the right side here. Maybe my favorite total play of the week. Do you have any objections? You muted yourself, I think.
Oh yeah, I hit the mute button so I can take a drink. Not hear me just plug.
Classic.
I did it after I unmuted. Just the uncertainty that comes with New England, but I do think there is something to be said, and you brought this point up off air once about just Belichick's pride and the way they want to do things, and they're not maybe not giving up on a season that they should. I don't think Bill gives a shit about draft positioning, and he might be done soon. Who knows? I don't know where his head's at. Like, he's accomplished everything he can, or maybe the most accomplished coach of all time. I'm not sure what he has to prove, and maybe he's not ready to be like, well, we should start losing so we can get a better draft. They can't draft worth a shit anyway.
Right.
And
it's probably
like, why not just I think he enjoys
trade those picks even if he gets a top 10 pick.
Yeah, he just enjoys preparing and beating other teams way more than planning on what we're going to draft next year. So yeah, this total probably is a touch low. I haven't run my total numbers yet on a couple of these because this is a game that I'm not super interested in.
Okay, fair enough.
And I cheated and I looked at the chat and someone said, tease the Chargers, easiest bet in 2000. Every game they're close. And usually when somebody says something like that, it's super anecdotal and dumb. So I looked it up to prove this guy wrong, and I can't do it. Anthony Roman, got to shout him out. They're 10-1 on teaser legs. If you teased them 6 points every time.
Wow. Holy shit.
The only game that the Chargers did not cover as a teaser would have been the Panthers game where they lost.
They lost.
They were a 6-point favorite. Yeah, they were a 6-point favorite and they lost by 5. So they lost.
Remember earlier in the season when bets were easy. My God.
So we talked about this earlier with was it McVay or Shanahan or whoever? We talked about difference against the spread. That means like if they were a 7-point favorite, they won by what, 22 on average? Because you said it was 15 points against the spread. So the difference, if the spread was 3 and they won by 3, the difference is 0. Their spread differences have been 0-4 and then the -11, 0-4-1, -2.5, -4, -5.5, -2.5, -4.5. I mean, they're inside the 6-point teaser every leg. Yeah, they haven't covered against the spread. They're 3-8 against the spread, but on 6-point teaser legs, they're 10-1. They are just close. That's wild. So,
that is crazy.
That's a goofy. I can't believe nobody. That's one of those things where somebody tweets that out, like we're like Odd Shark or somebody. Oh, this is a crazy teaser leg this year. Like, I'm surprised we just haven't seen that stat. We had to rely on Anthony for it.
Incredible.
That's weird. One more game.
Yeah. Let's talk about the nightcap. And you tell me if I made a terrible decision or if there is a better way to attack this game, or if it's a game that you don't want to bet any part of. I couldn't make this 14 points.
It's tough.
I couldn't make it 14 points. Some of that is because my numbers are constrained by market results so far this season. And I don't remember if we didn't bet this game, I don't think. So it probably wasn't, it's probably not, on the front of your mind. But we've had a Denver, Kansas City game this year.
They are in the same division.
It was back on October. What was it on? When was this game? I can't find it because I wanted to look at the market. The market, I just from memory, the market was bullish on the Broncos in that game at home. It got bet down from what, like 6 or 7 down to 5, 4-ish maybe. I mean, it was coming in close to a field goal, like kind of crazy sort of that. Now thinking in hindsight that Denver would be that close, given how you perceive these teams currently. But if you take that information and you inform what a reasonable numbers ought to be, 14 doesn't make any sense here. The quarterbacks are going to be back for the Broncos. None of them even got sick, right? Like it was a 1 false positive and 2 contact tracing that kept them out of that game. Otherwise, Denver's relatively healthy as far as I can tell you. Philip Lindsay not likely to go, but they have other reasonable legs in that backfield. I mean, I hate Gordon, but still they have other players. I don't know. Kansas City plays down to these, their opponents when they have these massive spreads. We saw it against Carolina. We saw it against the Oakland Raiders the first time. Oakland Raiders the second time to a degree. Like they let the Raiders stay in that game. Have some late heroics. I don't know. How does Kansas City get up for this game, and what is their motivation to win by more than 2 touchdowns? Was I stupid taking 14 points because I already bet it?
Probably not. It's one of those icky ones. Like, it's a true icky bet that you don't want to have to make. But number wise, like, it's really, really hard to get there, isn't it?
It sure is.
It's just the difference between two teams. It's hard to make, unless you do take Kansas City and like the Jets or Jaguars. And obviously we had a whole different kind of situation last week with what Denver was. And I don't know if that's influencing the market. It probably is, right? Like, just it was a game that everybody paid attention to because it was so big in the news. Like, do you think that's possibly influencing things?
I mean, it may be.
The market is a little funny, and it's a fluid market. We're out here at Wednesday when limits are at a decent enough spot where big money could come in on this game if they wanted to. So I guess the fact that it hasn't come off 14 would make me a little nervous, but also
It went out to 14.
yeah.
It sailed out.
Well, and that's the thing that's what I'm
half
saying. The fact that there hasn't been like a big resistance to pop it back to 13 and a half.
Yeah. Right.
So that would make me a touch nervous. I guess, however, other people my power numbers, KC at home. Are we giving anybody? No, nobody's off weird rest. So I make it 12 and a half. I don't know where you're at.
KC is off. KC's off a big game. In fact, they just played in the night slot in the national game of the week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They just beat their pants off in the first half, let them sneak in the back door. I don't know. How do you get up for this game where you're a 2-touchdown favorite against a team?
Yeah, that's the thing. And there is the Andy Reid alternate Denny's menu.
Exactly.
He doesn't have the good plays. He brings up the kids menu for this thing. He doesn't have. There's no Grand Slam. There's no moons over Miami.
No, he's
none of the good stuff. Yeah,
he's calling the chicken and liver on the backside of the Denny's menu, not the moons over Miami.
Yeah, the moons over Miami is actually a super good dish. I mean, so he doesn't. Yeah, he has the kids menu for some of these games. It does feel like they do play down, especially on offense, and that's what matters because their defense is bad. Locke being back, you would think Denver could get something, and if not something late, they have good receivers. Locke sucks shit, but this defense is a tough spot. What worries me is a good comp for this game would be playing the Raiders.
Sure.
And Denver's performance against the Raiders was hilariously bad, where we said, like, I think we had that over, and it didn't get there.
Locke threw 4 picks.
Locke was awful, and I think that's if you don't get this 14, it's because Locke is horrific. He throws some picks to some bad. It's not a horrible defense as far as players. There's some decent position players, especially in the secondary, and they have a pass rusher or two. But overall, it's a bad D. So if you don't get this 14 home, it's on Locke, I think, 100%. And it's him not being able to keep pace, with a team. You're not going to keep this team under 24. So you need Locke to get to 14. What do you think you need to get the score to comfortably come within the number? 18, 20. 19 points, 20? Yeah. So you're asking for 20. Probably one of those touchdowns is meaningless. So you're asking for essentially 14 points from them during actual neutral or normal game script time.
Yes, that's right.
I think you can get it.
I do too.
It's tough though.
What do you think of team total over? If it's like because the way that this spread and total are set up, it's going to be like 18-ish. Team total over.
I feel like you're not cashing it before the fourth quarter. It's here. So I have it at one book, 17.5 minus 30. I don't know if I'd want to play that much. I'd try to find somewhere else, sell it up.
Yeah, I'd rather have like 19.5 than 17.5. That's for damn sure. You
want me to look at the Zombie Tony book quick?
Because
I don't hate that look, because essentially that's the bet you're making.
Especially because the Broncos have played 2 really tough defenses.
They have over 17.5 plus 100. You can't adjust it. I don't think team totals are adjustable. That's something to shop around for. But if people are hanging realistic price there.
So what do you have a read on the secret pod play between that Denver over? Cincinnati under, basically hope Miami pitches a shutout.
Cincinnati's at 14.5.
Rams over? What's the Rams over?
Oakland. We were looking at Oakland over 27.
What's Oakland over 27? What's the Rams over?
Rams. All right, I'm at the Tony. Rams is 24.5 minus 15, and the other book has 24.5 minus 30. Apparently, don't bet it at BetUS.
What about shoot, man?
We do got to come up. We can't continue to F this up.
Green Bay.
Green Bay is 27.5 minus 10.
Okay. The weather doesn't look too bad in Green Bay this week. 9-mile-an-hour winds, no rain. Devontae Adams against Darius Slay.
I mean, I'm betting Oakland, I think.
Oakland, okay.
Yeah, Vegas, whatever.
I think it's the right. I think the Vegas Raiders is the right call. They get right in a big way. What'd you say it was? 47? I like over 47.
27.
Oh, 27. That's a terrible line. No,
Yeah.
I'm being sarcastic. Okay.
I'm paying 20 cents for 27. The other book is 27 and a half for 10 cents. I think that 10 cents is worth it on a 27. Okay. So I'll pay a little juice.
So so we're going over 27 for
the Las Vegas Raiders.
Las Vegas Raiders. Secret pod play.
Or stream play if you're one of the guys that's in there.
Secret stream play.
Which and again, I've seen the comments just lighting up. Hopefully you guys are helping each other out because I've ignored most of it.
We're going to have to not do this at the very end of the podcast because people could just go to YouTube and just jump all the way to the last minute and then it defeats the purpose.
Well, now that you've said that,
well, we're gonna next time let's decide.
We'll talk it out before the podcast,
and we'll
give it out partway. I will sneak it in the middle because now these bastards are gonna. Well, as long as it doesn't matter if a play is a play for the sponsors.
These through 11 weeks.
God no, I couldn't even keep up on the halftime scope.
We forgot one. We forgot 1 week entirely.
We've done multiples in some week though. Ladies love multiples.
Yeah, that's right. We double dipped. We double dipped in a couple of weeks, and
I think they both hit too.
Yeah, I remember some of those. Okay, well, good job. I think we have a good read on week 13. Week 14 doesn't look great, by the way. We're kind of running out of good games this year, man. I'm not super excited about much that's on the schedule left. I don't know what's up with that. But I'm nervous too about some of these games getting shuffled around and
Gonzaga won.
Huh. Even though that guy tore his ACL?
Yeah, hell, they almost covered at the end, it looks like.
Oh wow. Good job by them.
They're just a truck. Man.
We're running out of good games. It's tough. Next week we got Kansas City Dolphins. That one's kind of not good. Yeah, wow, yikes. Next week is tough, man. Holy crap. So many backup quarterbacks. Not a lot of teams that are like kind of frisky, in the middle. Like there's like the really good teams and really bad teams now. It's going to be an interesting end of the season.
Agreed. Boy, I need to just get to conference play. My basketball is just shit right now. These second halves are murdering me. My team was up by I had another team up by 20 points. They're tied all of a sudden.
Have you heard in the past? Have you heard in the past how bad the first month of the season is to back dogs?
I'm betting favorites.
You have a dog that wins outright? Oh, you're betting favorites too? Oh, okay.
I've bet almost all favorites. I just can't. My shit can't figure out favorites right now. Whatever. Yeah, Rio Grande Valley was up by 9 at half. Now they're tied again somehow. What the fuck is going on? All right, let's cut her off.
All right, good job. We'll catch up on Sunday. Wow. No Thursday night football this week. So talk to you then. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Rate, subscribe, review.
And following you. And if you're listening to this in podcast form and you want to watch live early, join us over on the YouTube channel. We'll have links in our Twitter.
This is not a sales job, but I looked through the comments a couple times. There was some outstanding comments in there, and it'll help you on your handicap.
You cheated too.
Even more perspective than what we're saying by reading what the other smart people have to say. About.
We always talk about networking. Network in the comments, dude.
Seriously, we'll figure out a way to broaden this network, I think, because it's pretty outstanding. Anyway, best of luck this week. We'll talk on Sunday.